of the session will be I'll be just discussing about few machine learning algorithms. Then I'll be just discussing regarding the implementation of the machine learning algorithms. We are not going to define anything new. So already libraries are available in Python. So we're just going to use those Pythons for building the machine learning algorithms, for implementing the algorithms. So that will be the flow of the session. So about machine learning algorithms, since we people are attending the 5th day, so already we got many information about cognitive computing and also machine learning. So what is machine learning actually? Machine learning, even in yesterday's session, the resource person madam discussed about this machine learning algorithms. So machine learning algorithms are nothing but programs that can learn from data and improve from experience without any human intervention. Okay, so they can just learn from the data. Okay, so that is what machine learning algorithm is. Okay, so basically there are three categories of machine learning algorithms: supervised machine learning algorithm, unsupervised machine learning algorithm, and also you have reinforcement learning algorithm. So basically we have three categories of machine learning algorithms. So about supervised learning algorithm, if you want to clearly understand about supervised learning algorithm, as already at the beginning itself we said, like learning from the data. The ML algorithms will be learning from the data. So in supervised learning algorithms, the data will have the resultant labels. Okay, it will be having the resultant labels. So only based on the data we are going to build the model. So the data, whatever we have taken, it will be having the resultant labels. Okay, so such algorithms which is going to operate on those data which have resultant label is what referred as supervised learning algorithm. Whereas unsupervised learning algorithm, the data whatever we will be using will not have any resultant labels. Okay, so we will be just having the data with us. So based on the data, our algorithm will be finding some patterns from the data, some information from the data. So such algorithm is what referred as unsupervised learning algorithm. Okay, and the third one is reinforcement learning algorithm. So in reinforcement learning algorithm, so the machine will be exposed to an environment where it will be training itself. Okay, using trial and error approach, it will be learning by itself. So such algorithm is what referred as reinforcement learning algorithm. But in today's session, we are just going to focus on supervised learning algorithm and also unsupervised learning algorithm. If you want to still get a clear idea about what is supervised learning algorithm and unsupervised learning algorithm, you can just see the image whatever that is there in the slide. As you could see, in the left side, we have some farm animals. Okay, we have some images of the animals, and nearby itself we have some labels associated with it. Say for example, the first two are ducks, the other two are not ducks. Like that, we have some labels associated with the image. Now this is what we are referring. Okay, the data has some labels associated with it. It has some resultant label associated with each data. Now using this data, what our supervised learning algorithm will be doing is that it will be just building a model. And once the model has been built, now next what you can do is, you can use a model for predicting a new one. Okay, you have a new animal with you, but if you want to know whether that animal is a duck or not, you can use your model to predict that. So this is what supervised learning algorithm. Okay, fine. So the next category is unsupervised learning algorithm. In this unsupervised learning algorithm, as I discussed earlier, the data will not have any labels associated with it. the data will not have any resultant labels associated with it. As you could see in this image, the right side image, you have some set of animals. Now this data you are just giving as input to your unsupervised learning algorithm. Now what your unsupervised learning algorithm will be doing is, based on the properties what you have in those data, it will be just forming groups, or it will be forming clusters. Okay, now you could see the three images are being placed in the one group, and one image is being placed in the second group, and another image is being placed in the third. So like that, based on the property what you have among the data, it is being grouped into clusters. Okay, now what is the meaning of these clusters, or what is the meaning of this group? Now once if you have the data in a particular group, it means that the data shares some properties. The data has some similarities. Now if you take the three images, there are some similarity between these animals. That is the meaning of it. Similarly, if you take another group, the animals whatever you have in that group will have some similarities. So that is the meaning of it. So this is what unsupervised learning. So I solidly believe that everyone will be feeling comfortable with what is supervised learning and what is unsupervised learning. Now with this, we are just getting into the algorithms one by one. Now first we will be discussing 4 algorithms in supervised learning category. Then we will be learning one algorithm in unsupervised learning category. The first algorithm we are just going to discuss is linear regression. It comes under the category of supervised learning. What is the concept of linear regression? You have some input variable and you have some output variable. Now sometimes if you refer the materials, or if you refer some tutorial sessions, they will be using different terms for input variable and output variable. For input variable, you can refer by the term called independent variable or predictor variable. So these variables are used for referring the input variables, predictor variable or independent variable. Whereas the output variable, sometimes it can be also referred like dependent variable or target variable. Okay, fine. Now in linear regression, what we will be doing is we will be just trying to plot a straight line such that it points to it is just such that it is very close to all the data points. I will make it clear. Now assume that you have 4 independent variables, x1, x2, x3, x4. You have 4 independent variables, and you have one dependent variable y. Now based on this independent variable and dependent variable, you will be plotting. Just assume that you are plotting in a graph. Okay, you're just plotting in a graph. You're just plotting the data points in the graph. Once after plotting in the graph, plotting the data points in the graph, now what we have to do is we just want to identify a straight line such that the line is very close to all the data points. In such a way, we have to identify the line. Once if you identify such a line, that is our model. Now as you could see in the image, there is one independent variable and one dependent variable in this image. Okay, now whatever data points they have, that we just plotting in the graph. After plotting in the graph, they are just identifying the straight line. Now just consider this is your straight line. Okay, now the equation of the straight line is y is equal to ax plus b. Okay, x is an independent variable and y is a dependent variable or your target variable. Okay, fine. So once if you identify the straight line, now what we can do is we can use this straight line for predicting an unknown data point or unknown data. Okay, so this is what referred as linear regression. Okay, before getting into the demo session, I just want to give some examples. Okay, say for example, the students marks. Okay, based on the 12th mark or what CGPA they are going to get in their degree. So assume that you have one dependent variable and one independent variable. The independent variable is their +2 marks, and the dependent variable is their university CGPA or university percentage. Now what we can do is based on the data what we have already, we can just plot it in the graph and we can identify the straight line. Now with this straight line, what we can do is we can just predict for a new student. Okay, if a new student, if you just give the +2 mark of a new student, your model will tell what CGPA he may get in his graduation or in his higher studies. Okay, so in such circumstance, we can just make use of the linear regression model. Now let us straight away go to the demo session. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use a Kaggle platform for exploring all the machine learning algorithms. Even you can also try this Kaggle. Probably a few people might be already aware of this. There is a portal called Kaggle.com in which you can explore a lot of the data sets is already available in it. And also in addition to that, you can also run your machine learning algorithms in this. Okay, it supports Python language, so you can also try to explore this. Okay, fine. Now we are just going to implement the linear regression. Now, as already said, we are not going to create anything new. Already everything is available as a library. We are just going to explore that. Okay, fine. So first, let me just import the needed libraries. So there is a library called Pandas, which we needed for handling the data sets. Okay, so first, now I'm just going to use a use case referred as real estate price predictions. Okay, so already there is a data set called real estate prices of some state. So I'm just going to use that use case, okay, for implementing the linear regression. So let me just include the data set first. If you are new to Kaggle, it is very easy for you to learn it. Now for importing the data set, what we have to do is in the right side, you can just find add data. So just click it. Here, either you can upload your own data set or you can make use of the data set which is already available in the Kaggle. Okay, now real estate data is already available in Kaggle. So you just type it as real estate. Yes, there will be a lot of data sets. Whichever data set is okay for you, you can just choose it. So once if you add it, it will be added in the data field. Okay, now what you can do is you can just copy the path. There will be a button for copying the path of the data set. Just click that button, the path will be copied. Now you can just paste it here. Okay, fine. Now let us check whether the data set has been properly included in your notebook or not. So for that, we can just print the result and see data.head. In Python, there is a method called head. Whenever you have a data frame, you can make use of the head method for seeing the top 5 results or top 10 results. Okay, so let us see the results. Yes, so these are the fields you have. So you have x1 transaction date, house age, distance to the nearest MRT station, and distance number of convenience stores, latitude, longitude, and house of unit area. So these are the fields you have. Out of these fields, which are the independent variable and which are the dependent variable? So your transaction date, house age, distance to the nearest MRT station, the number of convenience stores, latitude and longitude, these are independent variables, whereas house price of unit area is a dependent field. Okay, fine. So independent field and dependent field. So now let us do one thing before proceeding further. First, let us separate the independent field and also dependent field. So let me just have a variable called dependent, in which what we can do is you can just extract the fields whatever you want to be an dependent field. Okay, sorry, independent field. So first I want transaction date. I think transaction date is not required. So let us have the house age. Then we shall have distance to the nearest MRT station. Then number of convenience stores. So let us stick with this. So these three fields will do. And for your dependent, or let us have it as target. So which are the fields we want? We need only one field, that is house price. Okay, so this is what your target is. Okay, fine. Now next what we can do is we can just build the model. For building the model, as already said, we are not going to create the model newly. Instead, it has been available as a library. Let us make use of it. There is a library called sklearn. Okay, so we can just make use of it. So sklearn, in that we have a module called linear model, in which you have an object called linear regression. Okay, so we can just make use of this model. Fine. Now, even before proceeding further, there is a concept called splitting the data into training set and testing set. If you're already aware, it is well and good. For those people who are not aware of, I'm just conveying the message to them. Now, what we're going to do is, we're just going to split the data into two parts. Okay, so one part we will be using for building the model, and another part we will be using it for testing our model or validating our model. Okay, because once if you build the model, you have to validate it, whether your model gives the right result or not, that we have to validate it. So that's the reason why we are doing so. So the next step is we will be splitting the data set into two parts. Okay, training part and testing part. Training part we will be using it for building the model, and testing part we will be using it for validating our model. Okay, so normally what they will be, in all machine learning tutorials, what they will be doing is they will be just splitting the data into two parts. In first part, that is the part which they will be using it for training, it will be having 80% of the data, and for testing it will be having 20% of the data. What I am trying to tell is, when you have 100 records, say for example, in your data set, if you have 100 records, so 80 records they will be using it for training the model, and 20 records they will be using it for testing your model. Okay, so fine. Now even for splitting the data into 80% and 20% part, we need not do it manually. Okay, we have a separate library for that. We can just make use of it. sklearn model selection, in which you have an object called train split. Okay, so we can just make use of this for splitting our data set into a training set part and testing set part. Just go through this. We are just going to make use of the train test split object for splitting the data set into two parts. So x train, x test, these are the variables. Now, when you invoke the train test split, it is just going to give 4 results. It is just going to give 4 results. The first result will be your training part of your independent variable. Okay, then testing part of your independent variable, and the third result will be training part of dependent variable, and the fourth one will be testing part of your dependent variable. Okay, just to make it clear, I just used the variable x along with the variable names. Okay, so x means it refers to independent variable, and y means it refers to dependent variable. That is our target variable. Hope it's clear, right? Now for your train test split method, we will be just giving the inputs. What is your input actually? You already imported the data set, and in the data set you have just fetched whatever independent variable what you want, and you have placed in a variable called independent, and you have another set called target where you have your target result. Right? So these are the two inputs you have to give, and in addition to that you should also give one more input called test size. What is the size of your testing set? So 0.2 means 20%. Hope it's clear for you. Once if you say test size as 20%, then training set size will be 80%. Okay, fine. Then you have one more parameter to be passed for your train test plate, that is random state, for which you can just give some numerical values. The meaning of this random state is, the random state parameter is, by default, if you don't give any value, it will take null value. Okay, so once if you take a null value, what happens is, every time when you just perform the train test plate, the result will be of different order. What I am trying to tell is, the records, when you just split the train test plate for the first time, the records whatever you have in training set and also whatever records you have in testing set will not be in the same set when you perform the train test split once again. So hope it's clear for you. Okay, so first time when you split it, you may get some records. Second time when you split it once again, whatever record that were in previously in train set and whatever record in test set will not be in same set when you do it second time. So it will be random. Okay, but if you give some numerical value, say for example if you give 0, so it will remain constant. Okay, the value whatever you are giving here is what referred as seed value, and if you give some value, then the records will remain constant. See, normally when we need such random state value to be given is, say for example you are writing an research paper, okay, and you are evaluating the results whatever you are getting. Now whenever you note down any results or whenever you track any results, you want to ensure that the record whatever you have in training set and testing set to remain same. Only then you can track the performance. Say for example you are writing an algorithm and you are want to evaluate the performance of your algorithm. Then in that case, every time when you just split it and if you evaluate your algorithm, the record whatever you have in training set and testing set should be in the same set. Only then you can track it, right? So if it is random, then first time you may get some results, second time you may get some results, so you cannot predict it. So in that case, definitely you need that records whatever you have in training set and testing set to be in same set every time when you just split it. Okay, so in that case we need random state. Okay, fine. So random state, you can just give some seed value. Now in this case I am just giving the seed value as 0. Fine. Now 80% of the job gets completed. So next what you have to do is we have to invoke our model. So I'm just having a variable called model, and the model I'm just going to use is linear regression. And you can just fit your model. So model dot fit. Now you're just going to fit by using your training set. Okay, so independent variable training set and dependent variable training set. Okay, so now you have fitted your model. Next you can go for prediction. Now, once if you invoke this method, what happens is that in our PPT we have learned, right, a straight line will be identified, no? So that job will be done if you just invoke the fit method. Okay, so next what you can do is you can just go for prediction. Now, once if you invoke prediction, it will be just giving some results. That result you can store it in some variables. Okay, so model dot predict, and for what value you're just going to predict? For the testing training, for the testing set, right? So training set you will be using for building the model, and testing set you will be using for evaluating it. Okay, so X test. So once if you predict it, you will be getting some results. Let us assume that in your training, in your testing set, you have 20 rows. So once if you invoke a predict method, what happens is that you will be getting 20 results. For each data, you will be getting one result. So if you have 20 records in your input, then you will be having 20 records as a result. Now we are just going to evaluate our result. How to evaluate it? For the testing set, already you have the result for it. Already you have the result. See, whatever data we have, in that data only 80% we have used for building the model, and 20% we have just kept separately for testing it. Now, for the testing set only, you have predicted and you have stored in some variable. But already the testing set result is available in a variable, right? Now you can just compare this. Okay, how good it is, how good your model is, that you can just decide by comparing these two variables. Okay, so for comparing, what you can do is there is an method available called R2 score. You can just make use of it. It is available in metrics module, R2 underscore score. So what you can do is you can just invoke the R2 score method. Just by predict. That's it. So what your Y test will be doing is Y test will be having your the results of the testing data. Okay, the testing input data. So that result will be having, and Y predict will be having the predicted result. Okay, so now what R2 score will be doing is it will be just comparing. Okay, how far it is accurate, the predicted result and the actual result, how far it is accurate. So that will be computed by using the method called R2 score. Now let us see the result. They are getting an error. Linear regression. One second. Sorry. It should be input. Right. Still we are getting an error. I think we missed X. Whenever we are referring any field, we have to refer it by proper name. Okay, we should not miss anything. Okay, fine. See, now you could see that the accuracy what we are getting is 0.62. The R2 is 0.62. So it means that the possible R2 value will be from 0 to 1. Okay, so if you get any value more than 0.6, then it's a good model. Okay, if you get less than 0.5, then the model is very poor model. Here in this case, we are getting 0.62. You can't claim that it is a very good model, but comparatively it's okay. Okay, still if you include, we have only included 3 independent variables. Still, if you include few more independent variables, then your accuracy will be still more improved. Okay, so this is how you can implement the linear regression model. Okay, so hope the participant will be comfortable with the linear regression model. So next we are just going with logistic regression. Logistic regression is very similar to that of your linear regression. The only the fact is the target variable or the dependent variable will be of type discrete. Discrete in the sense the target variable will be having either the value true or false, yes or no, 0 or 1. So the value will be of Boolean type. The target variable value will be of Boolean type. Okay, as I said, either true or false, yes or no, 0 or 1, available or not available, something like that. So you'll be having only Boolean values, either yes or no. That type of value only will be having in the target variable. Okay, so that is what logistic regression is. Okay, now let us implement this logistic regression model. Now so let me take a new, okay, fine. Now for this logistic regression, let us take a different use case, that is predicting the heart disease, whether the particular patient is going to get the heart disease in the next 10 years. Okay, let us take the data set. Okay, so in the Kaggle already you have the data set. Okay, so if you just give heart disease, you can get the data set. Yes, you could find logistic regression to predict heart disease data set. So this data set you can just make use of it. Okay, fine. So this is the data set. Fine. So the same procedure. So first let us import pandas, because we need pandas for handling our data set. Then let us import the data set. Read. Let's just print and see whether we could import it correctly or not. Data dot head. Yes. So these are the fields you have in your data set. You could see fields like male, age, education, current smoker, cigarettes per day, BP meds, prevalence, stroke, prevalent hypertension, diabetes, total calories, like that you have. Now, out of these fields, the 10-year CHD field is your target field. This is your dependent field. 10-year CHD means 10-year coronary heart disease. Now in this field, either you will be having the value 0 or 1. If you have the value 0, it means that there is no possibility of the patient to get heart disease in the next 10 years. Suppose if you have the value 1, it means that there is a possibility for the patient to get the coronary heart disease in the next 10 years. So that is it. Now, as I said, in the target variable, you have the Boolean type of values. Either you have the value 0 or 1. Now, for this type of use cases, you cannot use linear regression. Linear regression, you can just use only if the target variable has a continuous value between some ranges. Okay. Suppose if the target variable is of type discrete and the two yes or no type, then definitely you have to go with logistic regression. Okay, fine. So the rest of the variables or rest of the features are independent variables, and 10-year CHD is your target variable. Okay, fine. So the same procedure. So let us try to identify the fields which we want to have as an independent variable and also dependent variable. Okay, so first let me have independent variable. So independent variable. So which are the fields we want? Gender we want. So let us have it as male. Let us just include it. And you need age. Then education. I think education will not impact much, so let us just ignore it. But current smoker you need. Then cigarettes per day. then dpmits, then prevalence stroke. Fine. So let me just stick with these independent variables. And what about dependent variable? That is your target variable. That is 10-year CHD. Whether the patient is going to get coronary heart disease in the next 10 years. So that is your target variable, right? So now you have just splitted it. Now what's the next procedure? Before building our logistic regression model, we want to split the data set into training set and testing set, right? So that we have to do it first. So X train, X test, Y train, Y test equal to train split. And for your train test method, you have to give your independent variable, then you have to give your dependent variable or target variable, then you have to mention the test size and random state. If you want to use this, first of all, you have to import that, right? So from sklearn dot model selection, import and test split. Okay, fine. Now we have splitted it. Next, what do you do? We can start building our model. That is our logistic regression model, right? So from, if you want to make, if you want to build the logistic regression model, we can just make use of the library. Okay. A linear model, the same module we are just using, what we have used earlier, the same module. So in that, we are just going to import an object called logistic regression. Right. Okay. We can just create an object for it. So model equal to logistic regression. Then you can fit your model dot fit by using your independent training set and dependent training set. Okay, so F train, Y train. Now next, what you can do, you can just predict your result, right? Now you have built your model. Now using your model, you can just predict the results of the testing set. So model dot test, for which you are going to test for testing set, right? Yes, that's it. Once if you invoke this test method, model, sorry, not test, predict, model dot predict. So once if you predict it, you will be getting the results. Now what you can do, as we did in the earlier problem, you have the actual result and you have the predicted result. Now you can just compare this. Now for comparing, we cannot use R2 score, because R2 score will be useful only if you have the values of continuous range. Suppose if you have a Boolean results, okay, then we have to use accuracy score. I'll repeat my statement once again. See, when we have the values between a range, okay, so your target variable can take any value between this range. In that case, if you want to compare your predicted result with your actual result, then we can make use of R2 score. But in case of the present problem, our target variable is going to have yes or no result. Okay, whether the excuse me, whether the patient is going to get heart disease or not. So yes or no. So your predicted result or your actual result is going to have only yes or no's, zeros or ones. So in that case, you have to use a measure called accuracy score. So in the same metrics module, you have an object called accuracy score. So you can just make use of this. That's it. The same concept. The only thing is we are just making use of the model called logistic regression. Okay. Now let us see whether we are getting the result or not. Now you can see that we are just getting some error. Let us check the reason behind the error. Yes. So we are getting an error like the input field contain null value. So the dependent variable, the independent variable, whatever we have taken, in any one of or in some of the independent variables, we have null values. In any of these fields, you have null value. Now what we have to do is we have to eliminate the null value. Either you can remove that row, or you have to replace with either 0, or you can replace with some mean values. So whichever we feel comfortable, we can just proceed with it. Okay. Now let us do one thing. Let us replace with the null value. But before that, we have to identify which field has a null value. Is it or not? So let us just find that. So let us check age field. Probably male field will not have null value. Let us check with age field. Dot is null dot sum. So you're getting 0. So it means that age field has 0 null values. So age field don't have any null value. What about current smoker? Current smoker also have 0 null values. Cigarettes per day. He has 29 null values. What about the next field? First, let us check it first. Oh, even BP meds field also have 53 null values. Prevalent stroke. I think this field will not have any null value. Yes, this field don't have. So your cigarettes per day and your BP meds have some null values. So next what you have to do is we want to either remove that null value. Remove in the sense you cannot remove that value alone. Okay, so you can just remove that row itself. I believe that the point what I am trying to convey has reached you. So when you have some null value in that field, what you can do is either you can remove that row itself, okay, or else that field value, that null value, you can just replace with 0, or you can replace with the mean value of the particular field. So any one option you can just do. Okay, say for example in cigarettes per day, you have a null value in a particular record. So what you can do is you can just take the mean value of the cigarettes per day field, and you can replace that mean value with the you can just replace the null value with the mean value, or you can just replace 0. Okay, so let us do one thing. Let us uniformly replace with 0 value. So first cigarettes per day. So I'm just going to replace cigarettes per day dot replace. Okay, for this you want to match with exact null value what we have. So for that what we can do is we can just make use of NumPy library. So here replace of np.nan, and which value you want to replace? You want to replace with 0. That's it. Similarly, you can also replace the null values whatever you have in the next field called BP meds. Right? That's it. Now just see that we are getting the accuracy score as 83. Okay, similar to R2 score, accuracy score will be also between 0 to 1. Okay, so if you get any value greater than 0.6, it's a good model. Okay, anything less than that is a poor model. Now in our case, we are getting 0.83. So it means that 83%, around 83%, our model is predicting the right result. Okay, so this is how you have to implement the logistic regression. So hope the point is very clear for you. So with this, let us move to the next supervised learning model called decision tree. So in this decision tree, what we'll be doing is based on the independent variable, whatever we have in the data set, we will be just building the tree-like model. Okay, we'll be just building a tree-like model. In this tree-like model, then the non-leaf nodes you'll be having the independent variables, and the leaf node you'll be having the dependent variable. Okay, so based on the data, whatever we have in the independent variable, only based on that the tree-like model has been built. Now, once if this model has been built, now what we can do is, for a new data, you can just find the result of the data by using this tree. Okay, say for example, now based on the data, you built the tree. Now the decision tree is ready with you. Now for a new data, okay, whether the tree has been built to predict whether the person is going to get heart attack or not, how risk he's going to take, he's going to get heart attack. Okay, so for the data set only we have built the tree. Assume that the tree has been built for the data set. Now if for a new patient, by using this data set, by using this decision tree, you can just identify whether the new patient is going to get heart attack or not, how risk he is going to get heart attack, whether it is less risk or more risk, that you can identify by using this tree. Whether he is a smoker, yes, he is a smoker. Then what is his age? His age is greater than 30 or less than 30. If he is lesser than 30 means less risk. If he is greater than 30 means more risk, like that. So based on the independent variable, it will just take you to the appropriate leaf node, and the leaf node will give you the result. Okay, so just by seeing this example itself, you might have inferred one thing, that the decision tree is used for classification purpose. Whenever your objective is to classify, say for example, you have different classes, class A, class B, class A, your results. Okay, your resultant objective is to identify which class the data belongs to, class A, class B, class C. So such problem is what we are calling as a classification problem. So if classification problem is your objective, then you can go with decision tree. Okay, so hope it's clear for you. Let us get into a demo session on the decision tree. Now for this decision tree, let us take the use case of Titanic survival data set. Probably everyone might have either heard or you might have used this data set. So Titanic survival data set contains the people who were traveled on the Titanic ship, which went with some accident, and many people have lost their lives, and few people have also survived it. So that data set is available. That data is available. That data set is what we are referring as a Titanic survival data set. Now we are going to use that survival data set to build the decision tree. Is it okay? So first let us import the data set. Titanic. Yes. Okay, there is a Titanic set. So you can just include any data set. I'm just including this data set. Okay, fine. So as usual, the same procedure. First we just import pandas. Also you need NumPy, because this data set may also have some null values. So you also need this. So let us read the data set. So let us copy the path. So let us print and see how our data looks. Okay, fine. So hope you can see the results. So you have fields like passenger ID, survived, passenger class, sex, age. Then in addition to that, you also have some fields. Now among this field, you might have inferred that your survived future is your dependent variable. This is your target variable, whether the passenger has survived or not. 0 means haven't survived. 1 means he has survived. The particular passenger has been survived. So this is your dependent variable. And all other variables are independent variables. Okay, fine. So let us split the independent variable and dependent variables. So which are the fields we want? We want a passenger class. We want the sex field. We want age. I haven't included name because name will not help me to build this model. So whichever field that is going to impact on the target variable, only that variable you have to choose. That field you have to choose. In statistics, we have a lot of measures to identify which are the features that will be impacting more on the target feature. Okay, here we are just randomly selecting, just by seeing the field we are just selecting, but in real time there are some statistical measures available. We have variance, covariance, like that we have some statistical measures. So using those measures we will be choosing it. Okay, so let me just stick with these fields. Okay, let me also include this field also. So I have these 5 fields. So these 5 fields are independent variables I just want to have for my model, and my target feature is survived. Okay, fine. So as usual, before building the model, let us split the data set into 2 halves or 2 parts: train set and test set. So for your train test bit, you have to give your independent feature first, then your target features, then test size, and random state. Fine. So once after splitting the model, you have to make use of the decision tree library. And so before that, since we have used a train test split, you have to import the appropriate package. So from learn.model selection, import train test split. Then we want the decision tree model, right? So sklearn.tree import decision tree classifier. Okay. So we have to build a model. First of all, we have to create an object for decision tree classifier. Decision tree classifier. Then you have to fit your model by using that training set. Then you can just go for prediction. Okay, so you can just predict by using the model whatever you have built. Sure. Once after prediction, then you can just compare your predicted result with your the actual result. Okay, so for that we can make use of accuracy score. since the target variable is of Boolean type, you can just make use of accuracy score. So accuracy score is available in the module called metrics. Accuracy score, okay. Accuracy right. So hope it's clear for you. The only thing what we did is we just use appropriate library for building the decision tree model. Okay, fine. So let us check whether we are getting the right result or not. Fine. We are getting an error. Let us check the reason behind the error. I have included an additional space. Fine. We are getting an error. Let us check it. So we are getting error like it couldn't convert string to float. Okay, the reason behind the error is the sex field, instead of having the values as 1 or 2, it has the value as male or female. So the very important point to remember is, for any of the model, whatever we have discussed so far and the model we are going to discuss later, the independent variable and dependent variable should have only numerical values in it. You should have only numerical values. Okay, so your sex field has some strings in it. So what you have to do is you want to replace those text values with some numerical values. Okay, so let us try to do that. So independent of the field sex equal to dot, you have a method called map. For this map you can just give the properties. Okay, so if you have male, you can just replace with 1. If you have female, you can replace with 2. So once if you do this, what happens is that in the particular field, sex field, wherever you have the male, that will be replaced by 1 and the female will be replaced by 2. Okay, so now let us try to run our code. Still we are getting an error. Let us check it, the reason behind the error. Yes, now we are getting an error which we got earlier for the previous algorithm. Some field has null value. Okay, so let us check in which field we have the null value. Probably in the age field we may have null value. I think I made a spelling mistake. So I have 177 null values in the age field. Okay, probably in other fields we may not have null value. Let us check it. Yes, we don't have null value in other fields. Yes, so only in age field we have the null value. So what to do now? So that null value you can just replace with either 0 or mean, or you can remove that row itself. So whichever is appropriate for the particular problem, you can just choose it. For this week, what we can do is you can replace with the mean value. Instead of replacing with 0, you can just replace the average passenger age. Okay, dot replace np.nan. What you're going to replace, you're just going to replace with the mean value of that particular field. So independent variable of sorry, we are dealing with age, right? Age dot mean. Okay. Yes, now you could see that we are getting the result, the accuracy result as 0.79. So it means that 79% of the result, whatever our model predicts, is accurate result. So this is how you can just go with the decision tree. So hope it's clear and comfortable for you. So let us proceed with the next model. The next model is your random forest. Okay, random forest is very similar to of your decision tree. The only difference is that instead of single tree, we will be considering multiple trees. The random forest model will have multiple trees. Okay, so based on the inputs, based on the independent variables, you will be having multiple trees. Okay, so in order to improve the accuracy, you can just go with your random forest. Okay, but of course, the model construction will take some time. If you just take your decision tree, it may take less time for building the model. But whereas random forest will be taking some additional time for building the model. But the accuracy of the result will be better when compared to your decision tree. Okay, so I'll just do one thing. Since we are running short of time, I am just going to edit in the same program. Okay, so instead of decision tree classifier, we're just going to use random forest classifier. Okay, so it is available in the package. It is available in the sklearn package in the module called Ensemble. And the module name is random forest classifier. So I just let us use the same use case. Okay, so that is Titanic survival data set. So what I'm going to do is instead of decision tree classifier, I'm just using random forest classifier. Okay, and for your random forest classifier, you have to give one parameter. Okay, so far when we used the other models like linear model or logistic regression model, even your decision tree classifier model, we just use the model directly. We haven't given any additional arguments to it, additional parameters to it. But those models also have some additional parameters. Okay, you can, if you want to fine tune your model, you can just pass values to those parameters. Okay, so if you're really interested, you can try to explore that. Okay, when you don't give any additional parameter explicitly, then what happens is that those parameters will be taking some default values. Okay, but if you want to fine tune your model, if you want to improve the accuracy of the model, then you can try to give some specific value for those parameters. Now for random forest classifier, there is a parameter called max leaf node. Okay, so this parameter you have to give. Now you can see that the accuracy of our random forest classifier is 0.80. So it means that around 80% of the result, whatever our model has predicted, it is of correct result. Okay, so this is how you can use your random forest classifier. As I already said, your model have lot of parameters. Whenever you use the predefined models, the available models, okay, so you can also give some value to the parameters. Just like your max leaf node, you have some additional parameters. Okay, so you can try to explore it if you're really interested. Okay, now we are just coming to the last model. Solidly, I'll be just taking 5 more minutes, not more than that. So the next algorithm we are going to discuss is unsupervised learning algorithm, and the algorithm what you're going to learn is clustering algorithm. Okay, so the only algorithm we are going to discuss under the category of unsupervised learning is clustering algorithm. As the name says, we're just going to form clusters. Here we don't have independent variable and dependent variable like that. Okay, probably you can recall with what we discussed in the beginning. Okay, we don't have any target labels. We don't have any target results available for the data what we have. Now what you're going to do is, based on the property of the data, based on the property of the data available, we are going to form clusters. So that is what clustering is. Okay, with this few note, let me just go for the demo session. Okay, now what we can do is we can just make use of the data set called mall customers. Okay, the objective of this use case is that there is a data available, that data set available called mall customers, where you have the customers who are visiting the mall. Okay, it has been collected somewhere in US. So the customers who are visiting that mall, that data set is available. Okay, in the data set you have details like what is the gender, what is their age, what is the income, like that. Now we are just going to explore the mall customer data set, and we are just going to group the data set in clusters. As already said in the beginning itself, once if you form clusters, then what is the meaning of it? Whatever data points you have in each clusters, it means that they have some similarity between them. If you take any particular cluster, whatever data points you have in that cluster, they have some similarities. Some property is common within them. So that is what we are going to do. So let us proceed with mall customer data set. Just give mall customers. Okay, let us take this small customer data set. Fine. So let us import the needed package. Then now for clustering, what you're going to do is there are different type of clusters. We are just going to use a straightforward clustering model called k-means clustering. Okay, so this k-means clustering is already it is available as a package. Let us try to import that. ln dot import k-means. So let us import the data. So data equal to CSV is the path of your all customer data set. Okay, fine. Now next what you can do is you can just create object for the k-means model. Okay, fine. Whenever you create object, you have to tell how many clusters you want. Okay. So say for example, for my problem, I need 5 clusters. So you can just give it as clusters. Theoretically, there are different methods available to identify the number of clusters for our problem. There is a method called elbow method. Okay, so using elbow method, you can identify how many clusters that are required for your data set, that you can just identify. So here randomly I'm just giving us 5, but by using elbow method, you can find appropriate cluster value that is required for your problem or your data set. Okay, so fine. So you have created a object for your k-means. Next, you can just build your model. So model dot fit underscore predict for your data. Now for your data, actually in your data, before that, let us try to print and see the result what we have in the data. Data dot head. So we have customer ID, we have gender, we have age, income, spending, and all. So customer ID is not required for building your model. Okay, so customer ID is not required for identifying the clusters. This customer ID field is not required. Instead, you can just focus on the other fields or other features. Okay, and one more thing to be noted is that in your gender field you have strings actually. Okay, so here what you have to do is we want to replace these strings with the numerical value as we did earlier. the male should be replaced with 1 and female should be replaced with 2. So you have to replace with some appropriate numerical values. So that we have to do it. Okay. So first let us replace the value. Data gender equal to data of gender dot map. So the male should be replaced with 1 and female should be replaced with 2. Right. So once if you do this, then you can get your model. Okay. Now once if you invoke this fit predict method, what happens is the model will be builted, and once if the model has been builted, now at the result what you'll be getting it, you'll be getting the appropriate clusters. Each data which cluster it belong to, that you'll be getting as a result. Okay, so that you can store it in some variable called labels or something else, or clusters. Okay, now what you can do is this cluster data you can just add it with your so input data. Okay, so I'm just adding a field called clusters. So like this you can just add it. Now you can also print the result and see. Okay. Can you see here? This is what the result. Okay, so the first record belongs to cluster number 4 and second record belongs to cluster number 2, like that. Okay, since we have given the number of clusters as 5, we are just getting the result like this. Okay, so this is how you can just make use of your clustering. Okay, so we have come to the end of the session. So in our today's session, what we have learned is we just learned about the basic machine learning algorithms. So we started with the introduction about what is supervised learning algorithm, what is unsupervised learning algorithm. Then we implemented 4 algorithms under the category of supervised, and in one algorithm, that is clustering algorithm, in unsupervised category. So I solidly believe that this session will be an eye-opener session for you to explore the machine learning algorithms. Okay, so if you have any doubts, I feel very happy to answer your doubts, to clarify your doubts.
Thank you, Sindil.
Thank you, sir.
Participants, any queries if you are having, kindly you can ask sir, or you can post in the chat box. So many good comments we are receiving, sir. Many people have given nice session and informative session. Thank you, sir.